Hello everyone, this is me Jyotiraditya Rakshit. Today we're going to learn about Android's Room Database. It's an essential part of Android Jetpack library. So let's move on without wasting. Now, entities are nothing but a representation of a table in a room database, as I've already discussed. and it is nothing but a table in a root database. You can see here the example. Here, it's a data class. As you already know, it's a data class, right? All we have done is we have annotated that data class with entity. Entity, we have to import this library from the room, from the dependency, right? From the Android, you have to import this dependency, and the dependency is like middle files. So now here we have, deliberately mentioned the name of the table name. You can do or you cannot do. It's on your choice. So user data, right? The table name as when is the user data, and this is a data class. So here we have, because in every table there should have to be a primary key, to identify that uh, particular row that we need. So we have annotate this val id primary key, and we have set it to the auto generate true. We'll come to it later. We'll explain all this thing later. Basically, what I need you to know, these are these columns that we are talking about previously. Like this column was name, and this column was to check the box. It accepts the string values, it accepts the boolean values, right? This is a data class which will hold this column attributes, right? So here, every time we create an object of this, we will simply insert into the database. That is a general, overall idea that I want you to take from this. Now, let's dive into more this concept so that you can understand better about entities. Let's move on to the coding screen.
Well, guys, so as you know, we have opened a new activity, right? We open a new activity you can create by just going onto the project section and click on new project, and you can click create that an empty view activity. So in the empty view activity right now, and what we're trying to do is we'll be designing a sample app for the purpose of room database to understand room database. For that, we'll be having recycler view. I'll be having recycler view of a match parent, and the layout manager. I'll set it back to linear. Okay. And the ID of recycler view, just auto suggested me that. Now, and we're going to have a list item, tools list item, and we have a layout of sample design. I'll put it to sample only, right? And we'll be having a floating action bar, and we'll be having web content, and we'll set it to the end of into the end of parent, uh, bottom to the bottom of parent. You can do it in any ways, guys. It's not a big deal. You can use linear layout and whatever you want. I'm designing it to constant layout, so yeah. Now margin is 23 dp. I think it's gonna work. Okay, it's beautiful. Now, what we need to do is we have the layout sample. Let's just okay. So we have layout sample. Now we will be having. We'll have to design the layout. Okay, so we'll be having a material card view in here. Card view. And we'll be having for match parent, and the height will be 100 dp. For me, it's 100 dp. For you, it could be different. So top to the top of parent, and we'll give a uh, padding of 23 dp. Okay, dp, and we'll be having constraint layout there. Now we'll get match parent, and we'll be having okay, and inside we're going to have a checkbox, which is going to be a web content and a web content, and top of the top of parent, the top of parent, start with the start of parent, start with the start of parent, and bottom to the bottom of bottom to the sorry bottom to the about parent. Okay, Now merge and start, merge start. Okay, so I'm given ID of checkbox, and I think, yeah, right, Control Alt L to refactor the code. Okay, I'm going to have a text view, which is going to be sort of wrap content, not wrap content, or so DB, some customization that I want to do into the end of parent, and to the top of checkbox, bottom to the bottom of checkbox, uh, and text, just going to be tools, text, uh, for just namespace, and I'm going to have hello world, right? Hello world, and start with the end of this checkbox. And I think, yeah, it does a job. Well, let me give an ID that we give an ID of doing, refactor the code. So, what is its title? Right, so control alt L, and refactor the code. So I think it's looking great. Um, let's go back to the activity main sample, and let's add this src over here. I've already, imported a plus symbol for my floating action bar. So let's just give it src, and you can see that there's a plus symbol for the floating action bar. Okay, I think for here, I've done the work. Uh, okay, one mistake that I've did is I've done the match parent. It should be wrap content, wrap content. There we are. And you can see this is the sample which I wanted to create. Now, what is my goal is, I'll be showing you that whatever text that you add is going to be shown in here. So I'll give an example with Room Database, right? So I imported everything. So let's just now go and create our main database data class, right? Entity class. So we'll just go on Kotlin class file, and we'll create a data class, and we'll create this as a table of, what do you say? Let's say task. I'll go to task. From that, now data class, we're going to annotate with entity. I already said in the previous previous slide, sorry, entity, and I think we have. Okay, so you have imported entity. So now you can give the table name if you want. Let me give it for that. It's in, you know, the list, sample list. I will give the sample list. Okay, that's a database class. So we're gonna have val ID to outside of this for primary key, so that you know will help me to identify the particular row, and it will have title. As you can see, it's automatically suggesting, but I'm not following that. Well, it's checked or not, because I have created that you know checkbox to do that, so that I'll make that also here. So equals to false. Now we can give it a column name also if you wanted to do so, column info, and then get to that, right? Column info, some title, I can give that, and it's totally depending upon the code they want to do. You want to explicitly mention it or not. We have an auto generated also true, so that you don't need to, when you're going to create an task object. You don't need to specifically mention id equals to int equals to id equals to 1 or something, right? To every uh, data object that you're going to enter into the database, which is a task object. So I think it is still this only the entity class. It will create as a table which will have these columns, right, of id and uh, title, and is it checked or not? Because for me, that is that data, that is the data that I want to store in the database, so that if any action has been done, right, we can store that in the database. Like if a user has click the checkbox. In this case, here is a checkbox that was clicked, and then automatically it will store in the database that the user has clicked on that checkbox, and the title also we want to change, right? Let's say some contacts. Let me give an example. Let's say you have a contact, right? If you want to save on the contacts, what do you do in your phone? You click on the plus icon, the dialog box appears, and then you can store the name of the person, right? And it will display a contact list type of thing in your phone. So that is the type of thing over here. You can customize it, do sorts of things with that, right? That I'm not going to explain over here, but it's a sample a list which you can create, right? And the titles could be changed, right? You can save it with the different titles, and it will store in the database. So when you load the app, it will show you with the names that you have in your database, right? So that type of thing that we want to create over here. So when you click on the plus symbol, it allows you to store a different type of data, right? Here we only have title and is it checked or not. So yeah, so we can store all the things in that manner. So let's now jump into the task DAO section.
Okay, so as we have learned about entities, now let's come to the DAO, right? That we have talked about the DAO. Let's take time. Okay. Yeah. DAO, what is DAO? Is, as I already said in that starting, that it was an interface for the database operations, right? Was an interface for the C. Here we have annotate interface with our DAO. Here we have basically it doesn't have all the CRUD operations. It has only the create and the query operation. Right? So here's this suspend function. We'll talk about this later in a much more detailed manner. So here we insert the task, such as already I have said, right? In the data class that we create objects of the data class and we'll insert that. So the see here's a task and it's in the form of the task object. So the data type is task object and we insert that in the database. We don't need to write the structured query language. That is the wonderful part of the room database. We don't need to write nothing, right? We'll just do this by annotating this DAO and by annotating the insert room database, we'll take care of all of that. So it's a very useful way for the developers to do the CRUD operations and you know play with the database. So here it's query. Query means simply that select star from the. This is just an this is a query in a SQLite. I think almost same in also in MySQL and other. It's more of a less different format, but anyways, what this query says is that select star. Star means every row, every data that we have from the user data, just give me that. So it just and it's a function and which will return a live data list of tasks. So we'll explain this more in depth. For now, let's move to the second. Contains the methods for card operation that we have already said. This is an example. Okay, now let's move on to the coding screen to understand much better about that.
Now, so let's just, you know, move on with our next topic, which is DAO. And so let's create that. So I'll go in here and click on new, and it'll be an interface. So go and click on interface, and I'll click task DAO, right? And I have to annotate with that DAO reference. Okay, DAO, yeah, DAO. Now, as I said already, that we have four operations that we wanted to do with the help of the access of database. Is first is insert. So I'm gonna click insert, and then I'm gonna write a function which will insert task. I will take a task object, So parameter, right? Yeah. So insert task is not used. Okay. Only gonna have update also. Use that and fun update. Update task. Okay, I can use delete also. Though primarily we are only going to need insert task, but I am showing you. But you can just you can get the help of the Android Studio to fill up the code. So here you can ask select start from the sample list, and it will give me a list of all the tasks that I have. Right. So now here we have done the work of the interface task now. I hope that you understood these are the CRUD operations that we're going to do while when you are done with creating the database and the recyclable adapter. That is the most important thing. And then we will show you how it's done for the CRUD operation. How will you do the CRUD operations and all. So yeah, now let's move on to creating database.
Okay, now that you have understood the two components, this is the third one, as the most easiest one, is to just create the database, right? It serves as the main access point for the database. See, if now everything you have done, right? You have done, have understood the task now that how it is creating and reading, how it's querying everything and all that. You have understood about the table that we want to store this table in the form of database, right? Which will have this column, which will give which will have the columns in the format, right? So these are all the all the structure that we are trying to create. Now to access this all, right, we need to have the database, right? It's just like I said, it serves as a main access point for the database. To insert, to do all the CRUD operations and everything, we need to have the database instance for that. So that's why we have my database class, which extends from the room database. And that's why I say helper for creating the database instance, right? So which has a companion object and all, so which has an instance, which will use a function of database, which will return my database. And with the help of this room database builder, we'll build the database and will store in the instance, private var instance, then and then we'll return that. So we need have to have the access for the database. That's why we create my database class. It's an abstract. It's like uh, we have the task out to help us with the CRUD operations and all. So yeah, this is the general overview of what we're going to learn much more in depth. See over there, you can see that in the abstract class we annotate with the database. At the database. If you don't annotate with the database, it will not going to work. And also you have to mention the table name that you have. Earlier we have a table of task, right? A table of data class of task. So that is the task data class. That is the entities of it's like we are getting everyone of the name of user data, something like that, the table name. So there you have to mention that this data class, which is that structure of that our table, right? So you have to mention it over here, the entities, the table names. This is task data class. Then version export schema will explain all this in much more depth. So let's now move on to the next slide, and we'll go deep in this.
Yeah. So now let's move on to create a database, right? So we'll go again here and I'll create Kotlin class file and it'll be a abstract class. So I'll just put a normal class and write database. Say my database, right? It sounds perfect. My database. And let's make it abstract class. You can refer to the Android developers official page also for reference, but I'm writing here by my own. So entities, then we have the table name that you have to put, right? In our case, it's a task table. So it's a task. You can also use this Androids, automatic and suggestion under studios. So you can use that. this. Okay, that's fine. Now I'm gonna create to access the DAO, we need to create an abstract class. And abstract class, let's say fun task DAO, inherit from the and it will inherit from the interface class task DAO, right? So that's how easy the life that Room database has created. So you don't have to do nothing. You'll access the task DAO to the database and you can do the CRUD operations and all everything. We'll show you in a moment. Okay, fine. Okay, so that's good. So now we'll create a companion object. Right, volatile, and then I'll create var instance, right, and it will be of my database. My database. Null. Okay, let me make null. Now we'll create a function to get our database, right? So get database, and it will return error extended from the room database. Now, what we need to do is from the get database, we need to pass a context parameter so that whichever context and we're gonna access the database, you have to pass that thing. So let's just pass the context database. Yeah, fine with it. Okay. I think I've done a mistake over there. It will return the my database, not the room database. This my database will extend from room database. There we are. Now, simply I have to create return instance, synchronize this. You can use with the help of Android Studio. And you can get all this. You can see from the auto recommendation that we are getting val instance. So we'll use that, right? And we'll return instance. Okay. Now let me let instance equals to instance and instance. So yeah, so we get the instance variable as a return object, right? So now let me explain why have I written volatile and synchronize. Synchronize, why you synchronize? Because so that one thread to ensure thread safety, so that one thread can access this block of code like at one time, right? Not two threads can access it simultaneously, but it will allow only one thread to access that. So whenever one thread will the first thread that will create the database will have the access to that because the instance is null. So this is an Elvis operator, which if left is null, it will go to the right and execute the right part of the code. And so it will build the database so that one thread that will either it could be main thread or it could be the thread, right? So it will create the database. And when the second time uh, any thread will try to access this, it will return this instance because it's already stored. As you can see, we have already stored the instance with this instant variable and I've returned it. So it will store in the instance and when another thread will try to access, it will get this instance. So it's not going to be null. So it's going to be return this instance on the left side, right? And why is volatile? Volatile for the reason is that when any thread has done any operation on any variable, that's why I've seen volatile over the instance variable. So I have done any operation on this instance, right? So every thread will know, okay, every thread will get updated that, okay, instance has been updated. It is not null. It is now updated to something. It's not null. So that's why, so that they can easily access that. They will know that it's been updated so that you can access that, right? They will all get updated. So that is the purpose. Now, in our case, the database has been completely done. We have created the database. Now, only task is there is to create the database and move further. So for now we're going to create the rest part of our application in which you're going to uh, you're going to need the database helping, right? So let's just jump onto it. I'm creating the recycler view adapter which you need for these lists. So let's make adapter. I've already made a file of the recycler view adapter. So now just let's start coding. So class my adapter. Okay, I'll extend from recycler view dot adapter, which will accept a view holder. And now let's me make the view holder, which is class view holder. Let me name it class view holder, which will extend from recycler view dot view holder, which will accept and no, which will accept a view. So what I'm going to do, I'm in the constructor, I'll be mentioning item view dot view, right? So item view, which you generate from the view, and we'll pass that here. And inside that, we're gonna make function called function bind, which will, in the view holder, it will bind the data. So it needs a task object, which because from the list you're gonna have that in the database when you query about uh, you know when you get the query about giving us all the list of the list of the task object, well, then we can use each one of them to bind uh, to the view holder, to the specific title and the checkbox. So yeah, so let us now click Alt plus Enter over here to implement the members, which you have to upload because it's an you have to do it. Okay, I guess implement members. Let me pass this view holder. Second. Okay. Second. What's that? View holder in adapter, view holder in this. Okay. Implement members. Okay, there are the members. Fine. So create view holder. We're gonna do direct. You can also store it in the view and then return it direct. So here you can see that Android is Studio is telling me to autofill it. So I'm gonna do that. Layout inflator. So I import it. So that is the layout file. So this inflator is going to be from the parent, which is going to be the activity, and it's going to inflate this layout file, which you have over here. As you can see, I have this layout design file, right, that you have designed. And yeah, so it's gonna inflate that file, which parent is the activity, and attached to root we do false because we don't want it to stick it in the position. We want them to you recycle the view, so we don't do that. And for the get item count, we need to have that. One second, please. One second. Okay. Okay, sorry for that. So you need to have the list. So val of task list, which is going to be a list of task objects, because when you query from the database, we'll get a list of tasks. So yeah, empty list, and we'll create a function of setup list, which will take task list, list of task, and then this dot task list equals to task list. So there we are. So yeah, now what you want to do over here is to return task list dot size for this size. Okay, on bind view holder, and also we have to notify dataset dot change, because so that we don't want it to reload recycle view to work again and reload the whole thing. So with that, we can use diffutil also, but that's for the next topics. So put that over there, and bind view holder, let's just holder dot bind task list position. Also, we need some couple of things over here. Not only this, uh, we need a task DAO, an adapter, right? So let me go for task DAO and adapter. So we need these three things. So let's get the reference of the task DAO. So we're gonna have a task DAO and right. So now what we want to do over here is we're gonna provide these three things, which is task DAO and this is the adapter. And now the main work is left in here. So val, which is going to be our title. So item view dot text view. So that will just put some script. And 1 second, sorry for that. Well, checkbox, checkbox. It's going to be by ID checkbox. Let it. And now goes to Android Studio to autofill for that for me. And now what we need is to bind this. So we need title dot text. So task dot title, sorry. And checkbox dot is check is task is checked. Should not be complete. See, there's some mistakes, so you can use it, but you have to rectify that. Now, what you need to have is this is done till like if you want to enter a specific text from the data objects, you will enter it that way, title.text. But let's say that I want to store that checkbox also, checkbox markings. Whenever one guy opens our app, right, he checkboxes that thing. Now I want them to, let me show you this. So this is the checkbox that they will click on that, right? Now I want them and I want it to store in the database so that whenever the user comes back again, he can show his checked that he has already marked that. So I want that type of functionality. So what I will do over here is checkbox dot set on click listener and task is checked equals to, we're gonna have checkbox is checked, then okay. So task is checked. We'll store that. If task is checked, store that thing and we'll update that task. Basically, we'll update that task, and so that we don't need to, worry about these things. So the checkbox is checked or not, right? Now, what I wanted to do is coroutines dot scope. We'll use the coroutine scope and dispatcher dot io. Dispatchers, we have to make this also. That's the coroutine launch. And we're going to have task DAO to update the task. It as well as whatever is checked or not, right? So if it is checked, so we're gonna have this check, right? Checkbox is checked, and we're gonna have that, right? It's checked or not, right? If it's checked, then we're gonna put it as checked. It's true, then we'll put it that way, right? And if it's not, then it's not gonna put it that. So task, and then we have to get adapted to checklist. Wait, set up now in this in the so we have done the dispatcher work, coroutine scope of updating the task, right? Now what I want to say is I want to have the updated list. So well, updated list, and then you have task DAO to get all the tasks, right? Now with context dispatcher main, we can dot setup list, and then we can that updated list, and now it's right, right. So if it is true, it's true, right? Let's check this checkbox is true. It's true. So it's going to check on that and it's going to update the task and we're done. So here the work is done. Now let's go back to our main activity to do the rest. So now it's okay. I have done some pre-cursory things. So binding, I've set it to activity main. My binding is nothing but it's a class which will hold all the IDs. So you don't have to specifically go for find view by ID and all that things. You can do that in the adapter also, but I thought key why not try this to differentiate. So let me show you it's done. So first, we need to have the adapter, which is adapter.style, and then I have to have the binding.recycler view. Adapter equals to adapter. Now we have all this thing setup is done. Now we want it to have binding dot fab. Whenever you click on this plus icon that we have already talked about, right? You can see over here this plus icon. So a data set will be entered, right? So let's just go and click set on click listener. Okay, so lifecycle scope dot launch, and well, this will be the IO operation. So because we're writing in the database, so yeah, so it's process dot IO task down dot insert task task. I'm writing direct the object. You can specifically define it and do that. And you can have the title and task and okay, sorry. Title is, let's say, hello. But I want to do something interesting. See, I have declared a counter variable over here which has a 0, so that I can, to understand it better, when I'll add the plus button over there, so that because each time I'll click on the plus button, it'll just print hello, right? It'll just list down the hello. It'll continuously try to make a new list and make a new task object, and it'll put it on the list and with the hello. So it'll be boring. So that to track of that, if you have too many of the task objects, you have to you know have a differentiator, so that I'll creating counter variable with the 0 and adding it. So let me go and add one. So it'll better, right? So here you have done the work. Now, well, list task down. This is also an IO operation, so don't ever do it. Otherwise, in a normal, like if I don't have mentioned any lifecycle dot launch, it will launch in the main thread and it will get blocked. So that's why I don't do that. Instead, put it in a lifecycle scope or any coroutine scope. Here we have to have lifecycle scope. If you have view model, you can use view model scope, but that we are not discussing for now. So with context, and we can sort format that code, and so with context dispatcher main, we can update the list in the main thread, right? So I think we have done the code. Now, I'll add a video over here so that you can get you can see the final output. So yeah.
So actually I have installed the app on my phone. So currently you can see it's a white screen, right? Now right bottom down we have a plus button. You can see the plus button. When you click on it, and now when you click on that, let's like I've clicked and you can see a list of hello 1, hello 2, hello 3, hello 4, hello 5, hello 6, hello 7, and you can scroll down over there to see it, right? And you can also check the boxes, uncheck it, check it, right? And you can do lots of things. So this is just a basic implementation of room database with the help of an sample app. I hope you understand it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so that's all for
So
today. I hope that
actually I have
you
installed the
gained some
app on my phone.
insights
So
from
currently you can see it's a white
this
screen, right?
tutorial.
Now
Hope that you
right
liked it.
bottom down we have a plus
Thank you.
button. You can see the plus button. When you click on it,